Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Sports Card Madness. This is LZ. I'm here with Nick. Today, we actually got a hold. Whatnot sent us their state of live stream selling report, Nick. And there is a ton of information in here. And we're going to break it down. You know, some of the things we're going to cover. Are people really making money off of live selling? First and foremost, we'll get into that. What the demographics look like for people who are buying and using these platforms, best product types that you should be selling and even looking for on these platforms. And then finally, let's even get into a little bit of the entertainment value that came out of this report too, Nick. Right. So let's get into it. What are some of your overall thoughts? You've had a chance to read this report. Let's just a little back and forth with our takeaways.
So this report is actually pretty big. I've been begging for this data all along. It's not easy to find. You almost have to do forensic accounting to figure out, how much backyard breaks makes, how many breaks are they doing, what are the prices of the breaks. You can figure it out. This just comes out and tells you everything. It tells you what everybody's making.
It was refreshing.
It was actually very stunning. So the first stunning thing was that by 2026, 10 to 20% of all e-commerce, that includes Amazon, everything that you shop for online, is going to be through live selling. That's crazy. And that's going to bring the US much closer to the rest of the world, who's always further ahead than us.
It's 2026. So 2025 is very close. It's very close.
Yeah.
So we're talking it's really
like a year and a half.
A year and a half, 10% or even up to 20% of your shopping, Nick.
Yeah.
Is going to be done through a live selling platform.
That's pretty crazy, right?
Yeah.
To think about it. And China's already there, and Asian countries are already there. Europe's not quite there. So we're going to catch up. And I don't know, the biggest bombshell for me, I thought everybody's making like $100 on there, $200. It's like a kid after school selling a sneaker. Well, guess what?
No.
2/3 of sellers earn more than $10,000 a month from live streaming.
And 1 of 4 are earning $300,000 a year.
That's a lot more than most of America. That puts you in the 99.1% income bracket. I realize this isn't profit, it's revenue.
Correct.
But still, that's insane.
That
is very
insane.
Unexpected from my perspective.
What? You think about logging on. We both have used Whatnot. You think about logging on and you see the different channels that you can sign into. And now the next time I log in there, 1 of 4 of those people, you're like, oh, damn, they're doing pretty well for themselves.
Right. Now you don't think so. Yo Nicky with his vinyls that I'm buying all the time. I'm like, well, geez, how much is Yo Nicky making, man?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. And so another interesting part that came out with that, Nick, was it was kind of in the same section, was that the average person the average seller spends 19 hours a week live selling. Now, obviously, you have some operations you got to do. You got to do your shipping and stuff, but we're not talking about 50, 60 hours. Everyone.
No, that's a part-time job.
That is a part-time job.
That ain't bad scratch, man.
Part-time job making at least, we're going to go with that 2/3 comment you said, at least $120,000 a year for a part-time job.
Yeah. It seems like they're doing it every day too. So it's a 70% of sellers go live every day, which is the vast majority. It's the super majority. So they're probably spreading that 20 hours out over 7 days. And it's like, 4 hours here, hour there, 2 hours there. They're not killing themselves. Obviously, there is shipping and everything, but this is making me realize, I've heard from sellers that auctions on Whatnot under $10 have a 50% margin. This is anecdotal, just from some live sellers I know. So you start to think like, wow, this is interesting. I know people joke all the time and they say things like, well, the Whatnot buyer isn't that educated and they just kind of throw money at it. But I also think it's exciting as a platform. A lot of money is created in those last 3 seconds where that yellow thing is sliding. Right?
Oh, yeah.
So wow. I just didn't realize it was to this extent in terms of the money people were making.
No. And I'd also, another point that was made in there too, it said that 64% of sellers actually have hired a team to do this. So these aren't just sole people. These aren't individuals. 64% have at least one person working for them.
Yeah, there's a
on
nice
this.
pie chart I'll overlay. It has like a third are solopreneurs, another third are 1 to 5, and then another third are like 6 to 10. And then obviously as you get bigger, it's a little bit smaller, but
Hmm.
it's pretty well spread out. Like this is creating jobs. Like
Yeah.
this is helping
Yes.
the economy in a way. It's
Hmm.
pretty wild. I mean, most growth networks do, the internet and like all of this stuff, but it's pretty cool. It makes me want to go on the secondary market and buy some whatnot stock. I'll tell you
It
that.
does.
I'm
It
accredited
does.
investor, man. I might be making some phone
Yeah,
calls.
you said that yesterday when we got this report. That was like the first
My
thing you
first
said.
comment.
LZ, you haven't read this thing yet, but I have. I want to buy some stock.
Oh man,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's crazy, dude. The other thing that was interesting
Mm.
is the different category breakouts, right?
Sure. Yeah.
So it almost kind of gives you the biggest three in a way. So the top three in terms of a percentage of overall sales that are doing live selling,
Hmm.
it's kind of no surprise. So sports cards is in there in the top three. There, it's pretty much even. Like they're
29,
each, yeah,
29%.
29%.
Yeah.
Sports cards,
Hmm.
sports memorabilia counts too, right? So signed stuff. We
Yep.
got men's fashion and sneakers. And
Sneakers.
that's like the prototype of the whatnot person, right? It's like somebody like sneakers and fashion and sports cards.
Yeah. Speaking of sneakers, the average sneaker buyer spends $500 a month. I think I saw her on there, Nick.
That's legit.
$500
Like that is a lot
a
of
month.
that's a lot of disposable income.
Yeah.
I mean, gosh, it makes you think. It makes you wonder, how Amazon, like when they started, they did books, right? And then Barnes and Noble was like, well, screw you, we'll lower the prices on books and we'll box you out. Then they get into CDs and then they get boxed out there. But
Yeah.
then Amazon just said, we're just going to do everything.
Do everything.
And now I'm
Hmm.
watching Whatnot, and if that's their playbook, we'll go dominate
Sure.
sneakers and sports cards, things that people are passionate about and will bid
Hmm.
on.
Fashion.
And then what's
Hmm.
next? Now how do you get somebody like me on there? What do
Yeah.
you, is
Yeah.
it when do groceries go on there? I don't know. It's like
Hmm.
crazy, dude. Like I'll go live selling for like a pallet of Costco Diet Coke, or something like that.
Nick, the sneaker stats, honestly, when I read that in the report, I said to myself, I'm going to go to Marshalls and TJ Maxx, and I'm going to go to the clearance section, and I'm going to buy every damn shoe that is on the clearance rack.
Hell yes,
I'm
you
going
are.
to try to sell it on Whatnot. There you go. There you go.
Here's another crazy stat, just the changing times, right? So QVC
Hmm.
pioneered this in the 80s, like all the
Hmm.
moms and the grandmoms, like calling the number and everything. And Ken Golden was on there in the 80s with his dad. So they have surpassed QVC, according to this data. I think it's 800x. So Whatnot
Yeah.
is doing 175,000 hours
Hmm.
of live streaming each week.
Each
That's
week,
not a yearly
everyone.
stat. That's not a yearly
Each
stat.
each week.
800 times more than QVC or anything. I mean, they just, and just to piggyback that,
Mm.
the people who are on Whatnot selling sports cards are making twice as much as any of the other platforms, Fanatics Live and Loop and
Yeah.
any of the others. They're making double. So this tells you they have the leadership position in a ridiculously growing industry. The margins must be insane. The investments must be great. And like I said, I'm going to hang up and invest.
Yeah, seriously. QVC back in the day, did QVC actually have commercials?
Yeah, I think they
They
did.
did.
Yeah.
Does Whatnot have advertisements?
I don't know. I buy a lot of vinyl on there. I've never
I
seen.
I'd never seen it either.
Right. So there's room right there,
Oh
right?
man, you're talking
Sponsored.
175,000 hours a week, Nick?
Yeah.
Can you think when this company goes public, where
Well,
if
what
you
do
can
you?
get your hands on some stock,
Yeah.
like
Well, you'll follow the path. Another Amazon playbook. Get the reach, get the search volume, and now you start to have a paid search program. So
yeah,
Amazon, you can pay to get your searches, indexed now and sponsored. So Whatnot could very well at some point say, we're not just going to do it randomly, the order that you
mhm,
pop up. If you don't have a great following, you're going to have to pay us to rank. Here's two sponsored and here's the rest organic. They have that's well within their rights to do that
yeah,
as a network, and they can make money that way. And then products, like you could have brands,
oh yeah,
Nike obviously running a Nike
sure,
commercial for 5 seconds that you can flip
hmm
through. Yeah,
Hmm.
totally, man. But right now they're
Yeah,
just in growth mode.
insane growth mode. But back to, I just think of the interview that we had with Manu from the Hobby House. We had her on. She does live selling. We were talking to her about the entertainment value. And this right here at 175,000 hours a week really validates that entertainment value of watching these breakers
Right, right,
and
right.
these live sellers. That's incredible. Um, Another thing, they broke it down just by like demographic, like age value, right? So 54% of sellers are between the ages of 28 and 43. 29% of the age is 44 to 59. There are some boomers in there, but I think the most interesting stat was the Gen Zs. Gen Z makes up 12%, and the Gen Z sellers are making an average of 120,000 a year.
There you go.
Very young. What's Gen Z? It's like 18 to 20, 27.
Right? Yeah.
18 to 27. They're making 120 grand a year.
Wow, look at this. The average whatnot shopper buys more than 12 items per week on the platform. I'm definitely not that heavy user yet, but it's fascinating. So it
Well,
makes sense. It's
Fireman
like,
Steve, shout out to Steve. I think at his peak he was probably at least 12.
yeah, so that's
Yeah.
what they want to do. They want to get you just buying everything that way. Fascinating, man. Really
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah, it really is. It really is. Um, what else can we see? What else can we see here? Um, what about there was something around retention rate. It's like 62% return. To your point around 12, they're averaging 12, but 62% of buyers return. That's big retention.
Yeah,
Big
that's
retention.
excellent. I mean, you look at
Hmm.
some of these like the food boxes of the world, like HelloFresh and stuff, it's like a 1% retention rate,
Mm.
and you look at most startups, that's not what they're getting. And they're, that are starting a network. It's like in the teens if you're
Yeah.
lucky. So this
Yeah.
is like 5x the retention of what I would expect at a company at this stage. So this is very sticky. Being used quite a bit. It's getting watched quite a bit. It's really a brilliant business.
Yeah, it really is, right? I think it's a great opportunity for sellers. I don't think you mentioned this yet, did you? I'm sorry if you did, but they surpassed $2 billion in live stream sales through
Yeah,
their
that's right.
platform.
That's right.
$2 billion in sales through their platform
That's a Fortune 1000
this year.
company. Yeah.
That's this year. Sorry, that's only this year. It says this year's annual gross
Yeah.
merchandise value.
So the bottom of the Fortune 1000 is about a billion, like
Hmm.
your Ocean Spray or like some like lesser, like they're probably in like the 900s
Yeah.
in terms of size, and they'll be 500 very quickly.
Hmm.
Very, very quickly.
Yeah. Oh, also there was some even stuff around location wise. I think
Right. I didn't take a
California was
ton
the
from.
biggest.
Yeah, I mean this is like your electoral map, it's like
Yeah.
what are your biggest states in America, right? You got
And it was
Florida,
Texas.
Texas,
It was
California,
New York.
yeah, New
Yeah.
York. So I don't.
Was there any random states though, Nick? Let's scroll to that.
Illinois, I guess, is interesting, but that's pretty high population too.
Yeah, Illinois, North Carolina is up there, Michigan, Ohio.
Yeah,
Yeah.
nothing really like sneaky stuck
No.
out. What would be more interesting to me would be buyers coming from outside the U.S. into the U.S. to buy. That would be kind of fascinating to
Hmm.
me because I got a cousin in Germany. I mean, whenever he comes here, he just cleans
Loads
out the
up
mall and like heads home.
Levi's jeans and
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see like how that crossover goes, or
yeah.
something like that.
Yeah.
For sports cards, I think this is going to be a more and more important platform. I think you can
It
expect
is.
this to be exponential growth, not your typical 5% growth, 10% growth. It's probably going to double and then double and then
Hmm.
double and then double, and then it'll have your 5 or
Sure.
10% growth. So if you aren't on there and you're serious about breaking or just selling, go to places like this that they aren't, charging yet for ads. There's still a lot of growth left. It's a good opportunity.
It is a really good opportunity. And we're going to do more around whatnot too. We're going to have some leadership. We had some of their leadership on during the national, and we can maybe put that link in this episode, Nick. But moving forward, I'd love to kind of get into a little more detail on this report
Yeah.
with some of their leadership too.
Yeah, I
So
want to hear
look
about
forward to
the
that.
categories that they're going to explore next,
Yes.
because
Hmm.
that's going to tell you where the puck's going. And
Yeah. All right.
all
Bye,
right,
everybody.
thanks everyone.